Hi and welcome back to the channel. Today is 1996 in my 90s novelisation series, and it was another fun time to visit the cinema, with novelisations still being reasonably popular despite the VHS saturation at the time. And now on to the books. So first up I have Broken Arrow, starring John Travolta and Christian Slater. This is a novelisation by Jeff Rovin. And as you can see, published by HarperCollins. No colour inserts. An enjoyable and satisfying action movie, I would say. And it was great to see John Travolta playing a visibly outward sort of bad guy here. Did it very well, I thought. Next up is another fun film to watch in the cinema. Dragonheart by Charles Edward Pogue. This is based on his own screenplay, so he's adapted it himself. This was another fun film. I really need to sit down and read this book, because apparently this one does differ a lot from the final movie. This book is apparently more darker and has a more serious tone to the one that we got in the film, and apparently worked quite well as a standalone fantasy novel. It also features some more scenes with the dragon as well, due to the fact that they didn't have to pay for the CGI, so there was actually a lot more dialogue of him here. This is a US version. Again, sadly no pictures, but we do get some on the front. Next up is a follow-on for another cyberpunky type film. So I have here Hackers. Their Crime is Curiosity. Boot Up or Shut Up. This is a novelisation by David Bischoff. So this was starring Johnny Lee Miller and Angelina Jolie, which I do believe this is the film they got together on. I haven't seen this one. I can't remember a thing. I saw it in the cinema and I still can't remember a thing of it. It probably does definitely need a revisit. I imagine it's probably another film that hasn't aged too well from the 90s. Next up is the brilliant summer blockbuster of the year, Independence Day. This is a novelisation by Dean Devlin, Roland Emmerich and Stephen Molstadt. Published by Box Tree. So, yeah, there were some good differences in this. I read this whilst I was on holiday at the time. I remember when I was probably just turned 18. Has some added information about the aliens and their technology, as well as a slightly different ending, which I may cover in a separate video one day. Still, no colour inserts. Next I have Johnny Mnemonic, the future's most wanted fugitive. So, starring Keanu Reeves. This is a novel by Terry Bisson, based on a screenplay by William Gibson himself. He also wrote the original short story that this was based on, 1981 short story of the same name. Got a copy of my Burning Chrome from back in the day. Some good short stories in there, some good cyberpunk short stories. The film wasn't quite how I imagined it, however, I still enjoyed it. Still lapped it up at the time. Next up I have Star Trek First Contact, Resistance is Futile. A novel by Gene Dillard. This is by Pocket Books in hardback. And it also has a little featurette at the end, sort of a first look at Star Trek First Contact, sort of the making of, written by Judith and Garfield Reeves-Stevens. So, yeah, I need to reread this. I can't remember a thing from reading the novelisation, however I think there probably are some minor differences to be expected. And in my opinion, to date, this is still the best Star Trek film since 1996. Very enjoyable film. Lastly, we have the imaginative and fun film Space Truckers. Now a major motion film starring Dennis Hopper, Charles Dance and Stephen Dorff. This was quite a silly film, published by Box Tree there, and it was written by Jim Mortimore. So I could say I would call this quite a poor movie, but it was still fun to watch. I was kind of hoping for something a bit more serious at the time, but that all went out the window once I saw the square pigs. No colour inserts. There were some colour inserts in the Star Trek Contact book, First Contact book, but I didn't look, didn't show you those. Terribly sorry. And to give you an idea how silly this film is, look, you can just look at the contents page. Deniable, hogs, ass, bear, bare ass, scum, bare ass, scum, sex dolls, intercourse, undeniable. Gives you an idea. But visually, it's quite an interesting film. It had its good moments. Right, that is it for now. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, goodbye.